Hello and welcome to the Nothing is Wrong with You book podcast. We are the book podcasters, Rebecca, Colleen, and Athena. Unfortunately, Athena's not here with us today, but she's here with us in spirit because we're actually going to be talking about some books she recommended to us. So, as always, we start off the podcast with what we're currently reading. So, what are you reading, Colleen?
I have quite the stack. Some of these are just really soon having finished. But because you mentioned Athena, I'll start with something that was one of her top books last year, The Wedding of the Foxes. It's a collection of essays. So I'm just kind of reading one a day, every other day. It is really lovely. It is dense, I think. So, but it's gorgeous. I'm kind of in the midst of all this really gorgeous writing, which has been really good for my writing. Another book that I just finished was Inheritance by Dani Shapiro. This is a memoir where she finds out that her father is not her biological father. So I have really enjoyed reading that. And then another thing about parenthood, I just finished this and I want to give a shout out to it, How to Lose Your Mother by Molly Jong-Fast. We just had her on campus recently. She was a dear and a delight and just so genuine. This is just a memoir about your mom having a complicated relationship with your mother, and then she gets old and you're an only child and you have to deal with it. What do you do? So I'm being in a sandwich generation. And then I know this is a little non-traditional, but I'm going to tell you about a book that I was reading and I abandoned yesterday. So here it is. It's called The Mask of the Deer Woman. It's by Lori Dove. And I'm talking about it because I think it's actually probably a quite good book. But if somebody is watching this and they haven't embedded themselves in the Deer Woman story and murdered and missing Indigenous women and all of that, then this will be a great read. So I think it's probably a really good book, but I was reading it and I was I've read this before. I've thought about all this so much. But if you're new to that subject, I think this Mask of the Deer Woman is actually probably a really great read. So it's weird because I'm abandoning it, but I also think it's probably worth most people's time. Just I've spent a lot of time thinking about this stuff and it's not doing anything specifically for me. So that's what I've been reading. A lot of memoir, a lot of that stuff, I guess, because I've been writing. So how about you, Rebecca? What you reading?
Yeah, I think that's interesting that you introduced the one that, that you're not going to continue reading, but that it can be really impactful. And I think that's what the show is all about, right? That just because we don't like it, we're not connecting with it, doesn't mean it's good or bad. We're not connecting with it. I did just also pick up How to Lose Your Mother.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to dive into that one. So, but I'm not currently reading that one yet. It's just there. So what I'm currently reading, I actually just finished my second read of Sad Tiger by Niege, and that is because I'm teaching a workshop on it next weekend, and so I need to reread it. And I know if you're watching on YouTube, you can see that the red were from the first time reading it, and the blues from the second time. It was like I was telling Colleen when I was rereading it that I was like every page I was like taking all these notes and highlighting and all this. I'm like, it's going to take me forever to reread this if every page is like this epiphany or like there's amazing stuff happening just on a single page. And I think that's what's so impactful about this memoir is that there is a lot you can look into and dive into, as well as just good writing and her story in that space.
And bravo to you for finding a reason to spend time with it as a teacher. There is no better way to spend time with a book, in my opinion, than when you're going to be leading others through it. And well done. And this will be out after that workshop, but I'm just going to say, because Rebecca probably won't, she's doing more of these. And so if you like reading and if you kind of miss somebody leading you thoughtfully through a book, you should check out her website because she is doing this all year. You've missed the Sad Tiger one, which is unfortunate, but there's other great books on that list too. And if you're listening and watching, you're seeing how thoughtfully Rebecca approaches those things.
Thanks,
so well done. I can't wait to come. I can't wait to learn more about that book. I love that book so much.
Thanks. The other book that I am currently not rereading, but reading for the first time is The Pursuit of Love by Nancy Mitford. And so this was another one to this week. I was talking to somebody about a show, and this kind of obsession about a show and like kind of returning to it, the characters, the cinematography, the whole thing. And I said in that conversation, The Pursuit of Love, I think it's a Prime show or whatever. I watched it the first time and then I immediately rewatched it. And some of it was because of, again, the cinematography, the characters, and I love the clothing. But then when I was talking to that person about that, I was like, I had the book. I've had the book for years since the show came out, but I just never read it. And I was like, I wonder if this is like B season, like if there's something in the characters that I'm supposed to be learning or discovering of why I keep going back. So I actually watched the show again. So that was the third time I've watched it. And so I was like, you know what, just get the book out. And I was shocked to see that the quotes are like by the word, like it exactly from here to the show. Some things obviously change because it's a show versus instead of a novel, but anyway, just interesting.
Cover of that book makes me not want to read it.
Well, yes, and I would probably agree. But the show is amazing. Like this doesn't even look like something I'd be like pick up. But it was the time and place. Time and place. You know what I
mean? I'm watching Heated Rivalry. I might watch that over again. That's the difference between.
Well, that was the one that I was talking about with somebody.
Oh, you were talking about Heated Rivalry.
Yeah, I mean, I think the interesting thing about this for me, again, this is like character wise. Like, what's the study there? Is that there's this one character in here that's like super romantic and super like I want to experience the world, and she's similar to her aunt, which they call the bolter, which is like anytime anything gets complicated, they leave.
Oh.
And then there's Fanny, the person who's writing this story about her cousin Linda, later calls herself the sticker, right? Like that just is responsible, stays, does what needs to happen, even though they really wish in their heart they were the bolter.
You're the sticker.
Yes, but yeah, and at one point in the show, she's just like, I understand I'm a shy person, but inside there's this ferocious lion or something like, this complicated space of looking at the Linda in the world going, I want to be that or I want to experience that, but at the same time, I'm the responsible one and I have to, it's just, anyway.
The push-pull.
Yeah. Don't get sucked in by the picture. The actual show is really cool.
For those of you who are just listening, it's just like a woman in some kind of, I don't know, Victorian dress. I thought it was going to be like a Bronte novel when you held it up.
Oh yeah. No, don't get tricked by that. Okay. It is a good show.
Okay.
Has great music. Andrew Scott.
All right. I'll check it out. All
right.
Andrew Scott's in it?
Yeah. All right. Lord Merlin, my favorite character of all time. Love it. Okay. And then the other one that I just finished listening to was the Pohaku by Jasmin Iolani. I'm not saying that right, but taking in some Hawaii mythology and understanding, but it also gives great history of the islands itself too, so that if you don't really understand or know the history, it goes all the way back to Cook in that space. So I loved it. It was just beautifully written. Great storytelling.
You liked her other book too, right? You liked her other book.
Hula, yeah. Yeah.
I want to read that a lot. I think you had already had it on your radar, but I remember reading about it and I was like, send you a picture of it. I'm like, this book is yours, so you need to read it.
Yeah.
So good.
So good. Yeah.
Good.
Highly recommend that one. Okay. So today we are talking about two books that one was recommended by Athena on this show, which was Maggie or A Man and Woman Walk into a Bar by Katie Yee. I think she talked about as something she was reading and then later as one of her best books of the year. And then the other book is The Wedding People, which you had read and then, had said, oh, this is good. So, and I think in this space, and I'm just going to put it out there because Athena's not here. I'm not going to go into all her details, but we know that she loved Maggie, couldn't get into the Wedding People. So that's all I'm going to say there on Athena's behalf. I read them both one after the other. So I read The Wedding People and then I read Maggie. And I think I was like, somehow to me, they felt really interconnected. They're both in some way talking about a woman making a decision about life, like something has happened to her, and she has to decide how she's facing this world on her own, right? And I think if I had a pick, I'd probably lean more towards The Wedding People as my favorite of those two. I'm not saying they were both enjoyable, and I think for myself, reading them right after each other was really impactful because I kept thinking of it as like it's like a retelling in some way of a similar story, or like this idea of what happens when you're faced with either like infidelity, or you're faced with having to handle cancer on your own, or whatever those things are that happen in the books. Like, what do you decide to do, and how do you decide to tackle that? And I think at first, when I started The Wedding People, I'm curious when I hand it over to you, Colleen, but when I first started reading it, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is going to be annoying, right? This person, I like love this kind of story where she just like left her life and went to this beautiful place. But when she gets there, the whole place was reserved for a wedding, and she's this random person that's also there. Right. And the bride in that, and just like the whole thing, I was just like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm going to like this. But then as the characters developed and all the things kind of really happened, it was like, oh my gosh, I love this so much. I love how the characters developed, even how that individual that was going to end her life. I don't think I'm giving anything away there.
No, it's like the first page. Yeah.
Yeah. At the very beginning of the novel, and where she ends up at the end. I just loved it. I loved that it was just, it was an interesting way to develop the characters. But yeah, so what are your thoughts on those two books?
Well, and the reason they're kind of in dialogue for us is I think I brought up to you that they blurbed each other's books, and they may have even thanked each other's in the acknowledgements, or it was clear that there was some kind of writing relationship between the two of them, like you and I have. Like, you start to notice that when you look at acknowledgements and blurbs. So that's what had them both kind of put together. You read them back to back, whereas the conversation that you and I had, because I was reading Maggie, I'm just going to call it Maggie, and I was like, I don't really like this. I thought this was supposed to be so great, and I read it all, and it was fine. It was fine, but like when I put it in my journal, I didn't put a star next to it. I was surprised that it was on Athena's list for the top 10 of her year, and I was feeling like bad because I thought you also loved it, and I had that what am I missing moment. And then you're like, no, I kind of liked it, but I wasn't like in love with it. And I'm like, oh, okay. So, but then we noticed that these two books were in conversation with each other. And it seems like the writers have been in conversation with each other. So I was kind of given both. So Wedding People, I was given by a trusted reader over the summer. And she was like, you should read this. I'm like, okay. There are certain people, if they hand me a book, I'm willing to try. And I read it at the beach. So I think context probably matters.
Yes, definitely.
And I thought it was great. I was like, this is a great book. That could have been insufferable. And the reason I chuckled is because one of my yoga students just like 2 weeks ago, she was like, did you read The Wedding People? And I'm like, yeah, I liked it. She's like, I don't like it. And then this past week she brought it in and put it in the little free library. She's like, I'm done. I can't, like, I told her, I'm like, you don't need to read a book if you don't like it. So she stopped reading it. I was really proud. But so I've just had this conversation with somebody who was just like, I don't like this book. I can't read it. So I did not have them in dialogue, but then when I saw the blurbing, I was like, oh, this makes sense. I think that they're both probably writing alongside each other in some way. So I also liked, and these are both really popular books. So I liked Wedding People better. I did not dislike Maggie, but again, I wonder if it was just because I maybe have read books like that before. I have and so this is something we could talk about too. I am having a harder and harder time with younger narrators. I don't want to like turn people, but like I like Raven or books like that have like a younger narrator. I sometimes am not connecting with in ways that maybe I would have when I was younger. So, I think they were both. I don't regret reading either, but if we're thinking about them in with each other as like foils to each other, I liked The Wedding People better. But yeah, they have to be. They must be friends or something. Like they're. I think that they came out at the same time. Like they're. I think they are or publishers are doing that. I mean, that's a possibility too, that publishers are like, oh, this person should have blurbed this. But again, I think one of them thanked one of the others in the acknowledgements. I always read, we should talk about that. You should always read the acknowledgements. They're like little keys to the writer and who they're connected with and who they've been in a writing group with. And I think that's an important part of a book that you shouldn't overlook. So that's kind of where I landed on those two.
Yeah. Absolutely. I always read the acknowledgements as well for that. And so I think that's a really good tip for people, even if you're not a writer or in that field. It's just a good way to see who they are connected with, who they even read. Because a lot of times the acknowledgement isn't even someone they know, but I learned a lot or I've studied this author and really appreciated them. So like there's just ways to get to new books even through the acknowledgements. But yeah, that's a good tip to add there. But I think the other thing about The Wedding People, and maybe this is our our leaning as well, is that the character, came from a university. Like so, there was that kind of space there too, that an insider knowledge or experience ourselves can be in that space. But like there's details of that one that stick with me, right? Like leaving the cat alone, like her husband trying to find her and she's just like, I'm not listening, right? There's the whole hot tub scene, which I won't go into, that I was like, oh, I love that so much. And then like the whole, like there were just lots of scenes that are still in my head. Yeah. I don't have the same ones with Maggie. I have the big premise. I have the idea that she didn't inform her. Again, I hope I'm not giving anything away. If I am, if you don't want to know, don't listen for the next second.
Let me think, because I just read it last week. No, it's pretty early on. Like she doesn't tell her estranged husband she has cancer. That's what you're going to say, right? That's pretty early. Yeah. You're not doing anything.
So I feel like that's the thing that sticks in my head the most. Like this idea that it could have been a tool for her to have a conversation, have a dialogue, get help, whatever, and decided not telling him. That is the thing that sticks with me out of that book. But The Wedding People, I have scenes in my head still. So I think that's just the difference. Again, both good books. They were both enjoyable reads. If someone was like, did you like this book? Yeah, I liked it. Neither one of them am I like, this is the best book I've ever read. Enjoyable, both.
Are they? Yes. Are they both debut novels? I should have looked at that before. I wonder if they're both. If they're, that would be interesting too. If they're both debut novels, that were being marketed. I think there's a lot behind the marketing of a debut novel, and maybe that has something to do with it. And I don't know. Maybe one of them has written like 7 books, and I just didn't realize it. But they're the first book by each of those authors that has certainly been on my radar. And I think I would read their next books. I wouldn't be opposed to reading a book by them. Again, it wasn't an unpleasant experience. It was just, I was just having that moment of what is wrong. Like I still have those moments like, what is wrong with me? Because I thought Rebecca also had this on her top 10 list. So I bought it. Like I bought this book in hardcover, which I don't do. I say that, but I actually do now. And rest in peace, mass market paperbacks, by the way, that happened since we last recorded. But, and then I bought it and I was like, oh, what's wrong? So there's nothing wrong with you. Name of the podcast. And I still do that to myself. I thought I was missing something.
Yeah, no. And I could have had a totally different experience had I not read them right after each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
That's
just think
important.
yeah, I think in some, and this is because this is also what we love to do, right? The comparison of what's going on in stories and how stories were told. And so for me, it was okay, similar themes in some way. And what's the difference? What's the scenario? What's going on in that space? How does the author take us through that story? So I think in that way it was really interesting. So I think that, and maybe that's where, yeah, it was interesting. I liked it. Turned into she loved it. It was the best book ever. Just a note on that, like what Colleen said, I think is something that came out of that conversation is read the acknowledgements. They're
I'm thinking
important
maybe
clues.
we need a whole episode on acknowledgements because there are some banging. I was going to say who I think wrote the best acknowledgements ever, but I'm not going to say it in case we ever do an episode on it.
We'll do it.
But
We'll do another one on that.
I could do a whole episode about acknowledgements and also from a writer's perspective, how stressful acknowledgements are. So I think that's an episode in the future for us to do.
Absolutely. So I'm just going to throw that out there. If you also have had good experience reading acknowledgments or you feel there's the best one, put it in the comments. We'll add it into our conversation when we do talk about acknowledgments on the podcast.
I feel like we should do a poll when we put this out. So y'all, if you're listening, like, did you like one? Did you like the other? We could be fancy on our social media. But yeah, I'm guessing the people listening have read one of them. Curious what they thought about it, or if are they on Team Athena or Team
Maggie
and Rebecca? Yeah, for Maggie or Wedding People. I do like the title of Maggie. I think it was very clever. I think it's one of the most clever titles I've come across. So brava for that too.
And the scene that sets that whole thing up, right? So good, right? Like, I mean, it is.
I remember. Yeah.
And then I think again that title really, when you think about it, is so impactful once you're in the story. So I think it's again good read. I enjoyed it.
Fine read. Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
Hi everybody. Thanks for spending some time with us today. We three love talking about books and we love each other, and we're so glad that you're spending some time with us as we share these things that we love. Thank you for all you are doing to help us create this community of readers in a time where we all need everybody to read more. If you could hit the thumbs up down below, it would really help us out. Subscribe wherever you're listening or watching. Share an episode with someone else who loves to read or maybe just needs to be reminded that we don't have to like all the books in the world. We would really appreciate it. Thanks for everything you're doing, and really just thanks for joining us and creating a space for us to do this thing that we love. Thanks.
So we're now back into the portion where we share the book that we want to recommend. I'm super excited about this conversation because I have not had the conversation with Colleen about this book because I wanted to have it here on the podcast because I love this book so much. So the book we're recommending is by Nina McConigley, and it is How to Commit Post-Colonial Murder. Brilliant.
Boom.
Brilliant book. Highly recommend. Look at all those tabs in there.
Love this book. We'll probably be teaching it. Obsessed. Saw it on a list of books, to be excited about for the year. Had it on the radar. I'm trying not to buy books. And then Rebecca said I had to buy it, and she was right. So good. So good. So good. So good. So good. And I think, that's my field. I'm a post-colonial scholar. So, you see the word post-colonial and it's like, what is that going to mean? But this book is in my opinion, a banger. And it might be a banger just because I got every joke. I got every reference. I got every single thing about it, as did you, I'm sure, because you've done, you did post-colonial as well. Like, if you're in on the joke, this book is really good. Yeah. And that doesn't mean you have to be a post-colonial person to get it. I think a lot of it will still make sense, but just watching like the maneuvers she did, I thought it was a delight to read.
Absolutely brilliant. Really rooted into the 80s. So the story takes place in Wyoming in 1986, I believe it is. And So somebody, a child from the 80s, it was like it was memory lane in some of the spaces, but it
Yes.
didn't feel forced. You know, sometimes when novels take place in a time period, they get so into like, let me put every reference there is in there. And that's not how I didn't feel that way about it. But what I want to talk about, I mean, there's so much to talk about, but is some of the different methodology she uses. And I love a hybrid anything. And so she uses quizzes. And it was really interesting to me, Colleen, because I was reading, I always go to Goodreads to just see what are people saying about this. And it didn't get good reviews, which I think is what is so really interesting, is because I'm like, this is amazing. And people are like, meh. And someone was like, I don't understand the quizzes. Like, what was the point of this? And I was like, okay. let me go somewhere with that. We use magazine quizzes to discern life. Like, it was the thing to do.
Everything. 17, Mademoiselle, Sassy, like they all had a quiz. I did the quiz in every magazine.
Everything. And it was like
the quiz with your friends.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess right now, like, people have tarot or tarot, astrology. We had quizzes in magazines. Like, this was how we defined and determined what was going on in our lives, were quizzes. And so,
and literally, like, should you have sex? Like, that is probably a quiz I took. And it was a magazine actually helping you. Like, we couldn't look stuff up on the internet. No one would talk to us. And so it was like a magazine, like, you shouldn't have sex with this person. Like, that's one of the quizzes in the book. Like, they are not for you. Like, that was probably information that we took to heart when we did a very similar quiz. I can't believe well, I just said I'm too old for some the other books. So now we're talking about this, and I get it. The way the quizzes move the characterization, and she uses them to help us know what is bothering her and how she's trying to work through her problem you're so right. It's so 80s. I didn't even think about that.
It was like our divining tool. It's what we had, to your point of, like, we had no one to talk to. Our parents never talked to us about anything. There was no internet. And so, like, you're going to look it up in the encyclopedia or a dictionary. Those were your options. I love that. And then in addition to that, she did a mash.
MASH. Oh my God. I loved it. I was so obsessed with that part. And people are probably like, what is MASH?
I think people know about it a little bit more now than before, but
the little thing.
Yeah. So mansion, apartment, shack, house, and so I'm showing it on the screen, but she has, like, actually the MASH there scenario. I mean, this again, another divining tool. Like, these were the tools. Like, sometimes we actually believe this was informing us of our future. Anyway, I just love that those are in there. I love when it's kind of like we talked about in the Dream House, Choose Your Own Adventure, like when novels take you into different spaces and it's not just full on narrative. I love when books do that.
And you told me to read it for the direct address, which I love. And so it also did that. And also the story's really good. Like, it's a really good story as well. So I don't want you at all to think that we just loved it as the writer hat that we wear, or the scholar hat that we wear. I also just thought it was consummately readable, super short. I love short books. And it might do a little work for you to think about how you expect people to tell a story when you see post-colonial in the title. If you don't know what that word means, just look it up. And it'll help you think about that. But I just thought it was really great.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I read it. And I want all of you to read it and tell us that you hate it. You might hate it. But the quizzes are worth it.
Quizzes. And they might seem weird, but I think if you just kind of think about what questions she's asking and how she's answering them, like, instead of seeing it just as a quiz, right? But, like, what's going on, because I think it's what you said, right? It actually does move the story along. It's a way of us getting inside the narrator's head. and not giving anything away here, because it says this on the flap, is that there's two sisters. It's the summer of 1986. And when they welcome their aunt, uncle, and young cousin, newly arrived from India, into their house in rural Wyoming, where they're all, living together, that's when the sisters decide that it's time for their uncle to die. So the whole how to commit post-colonial murder, it's all kind of connected in that space. But I think so. I'm not giving anything away. What were you
realize that the flap has a quiz?
I didn't
realize the flap had a quiz. That's so funny. Anyway, so we just had an epiphany that at its heart, the tale she weaves is A, a vivid portrait of an extended family, B, a moving story of sisterhood, C, a playful ode to the 80s, D, a murder mystery of sorts, E, an unexpected and unwaveringly powerful meditation on history and language, trauma and healing, and the meaning of independence, or maybe it's really F, all of the above. I didn't even realize that she used that in the cover flap, but what a clever way to distill what the book is into what it is. We just actually talked about all of those elements.
Absolutely brilliant.
We should be getting a cut for this book.
I think so. I mean, I think, again, I didn't even look at the inside cover when I picked it up. So, and the only reason I knew about the top one is because I was doing another Lit Illuminated podcast on this one, and I was like, I don't want to give away anything, but to just indicate how powerful this book was, and seeing it, this was my birthday book that I picked up at Village Books. It was on my little table that I usually get all my fabulous books, like the Book of I or the Queen of Swords. And the title, I was just like,
title.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Sure.
And if I look at the back, if we're kind of continuing talking about who's blurbing the book, Maggie Shipstead, love. Megha Majumdar, love. Jasmin Chan, love. Like Tayari Jones, Celeste Ng, Amy, I never tried to say her last name. Like literally all of those people have written books that I adore. And so, right, like that's a banging list of people. Yeah. So, and this is her first memoir. She has a collection of short stories, but
this is her first novel.
This is her first novel. Yeah, I'm so in the memoir brain. Yeah, this is her first novel. Yeah. So good for her. Good for her. We love you, Nina. If you ever want to talk to us, we would love to talk to you. But yeah, it's going to go on a teaching list somewhere, and it involves women enacting violence, which is always really interesting to me. Yeah, banger.
So many layers in there.
That longer than anything else, but I love it so much that I just want to talk about it forever.
Yeah, it was so good. I think it'd be a fabulous book to have in a class and talk through.
Book club book too.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I'm in a book club, and usually I think people pick like my friend that abandoned Wedding People, that was their book club book. And I'm like, what is there to talk about? Like, I don't understand. What would you talk about? This, I think a book club would have a lot to talk about.
Yeah. Because like what we've talked about, the time period, all the methodologies used, there's the direct you. So what we mean by the direct address, there are chapters called You, where the narrator, who is a teenage girl, like I think the staying in that character is so good. A teenage girl addressing you as the reader, right? Like so good.
Anyway, we loved it, obviously.
Loved it. Thank you everyone for joining us today. As always, if you loved this podcast, really enjoyed it, please share out, give us a like, subscribe. Please also add in the comments if you've read this book or any of the books that we've discussed today. We'd love to hear what you think of them and what you're thinking about. Potentially we could also talk about in the future. So please add that in the comments. Thanks everybody. Bye.